Thanks to a certain anonymous benefactor, my Tyranid forces have been redoubled, essentially meaning at a flash of genius and impulsively bought a Trigon and a Psychophage in the midst of my lovely holiday. Look, I love the Admech, and it's not like I'll never play them again. I don't have the funds to finish an army like that. The Tyranids, I mean, everyone's selling Tyranids on eBay, and I have to spend, you know, around £40 for a 55-point unit, Sulfhounds. Anyway, this decision wasn't spurred by pure stupidity, you see. Let me cook a beautiful recipe of mayhem and fear. First of all, you better believe I'm using Subterranean Sulfur Detachment. I mean, they pretty much had me at re-rolling ones on hits for everything. I didn't even read all the rest of that useless stuff. Jokes aside, this detachment as a whole, it just looks like a ton of fun. Movement tricks are always some of my favourite to fantasize playing with. I mean, I almost got back into Necrons just for the Hyperphase one. This actually leads well to my next point. The reason I didn't go through with the Necron one is because you need a monolith to make things work, which looks okay. Also, I like the idea of running death marks in there, but they aren't very good, and I don't know, it just seemed like it just wasn't destined to happen. You know what does look cool though, and doesn't cost £100? A Trigon, or a Morlock I guess, but mainly a Trigon, a big badass worm, a beast that looks like it could eat a skyscraper for breakfast, and still have enough room for the hundreds of tons of dirt it shifts in order to express deliver hell on earth to its enemy's doorstep. Is a Trigon not enough for you? Then try Trigon Prime! Available today for an increased fee of 20 points. Enjoy 12 attacks at 11 strength, hitting on 2s and rerolling 1s. Or, I mean, if you don't want that, take this enhancement and shove more stuff inside reserves for later. A boon of continuing Tyranids, instead of doing something totally mad like starting a completely new army, is that I already own some of them, around 1,000 points. So, I'm at least returning to and breathing life into an abandoned skeleton of a project. However, a slight issue with this is that I've already painted most of them in the Leviathan scheme. Here, some photos for you. I mean, they look okay. I particularly like the Node Beast for some reason. But if I want to log my cool new army online and give them some epic exclusive lore, I've got to come up with my own scheme. I always struggle to come up with my own colours for Tyranids. Basically, I was indecisive. I've actually already thought of this, and I've already painted my first model in this custom scheme. One scheme that always stood out to me was the albino Tyranids, mainly from this Death Leaper I saw looking online. I just love the creepy, pale, fleshy look it has. My first thought was that this would be too hard and that I shouldn't bother, but Papa didn't raise no quitter, so I figured I'd give something similar to this a shot. And hey presto, here's my first model. A Zoanthrope. This is the only thing I primed white and I didn't want to go out into Britain's eternal cold. I'm actually quite happy with how the model looks. It took ages to get the skin to look right though. It started off looking like he had a sunburn, and after I put on too much white, it just kind of looked like an unpainted model. I actually like the degree of excess of pink on the head crest, but I think it looks more like a flower than an albino Tyranid. Well, we have a new scheme, time for a new name. And again, I already had one, but looking at the High Fleet's names online, mine honestly looks a little pathetic. Here's my thought process. My Tyranids look a bit like cotton candy. Candy floss in the UK, obviously, right? Now, we focus on that word cotton, and boom! Cottonmouth. Like the viper, you know? The snake. It kind of works, right? Snakes are kind of like Tyranids, and some ambush predators, including the cottonmouth. Yeah, it's not quite Kraken or Behemoth or fucking Kronos, but hey, now, time for the meat and bones of the topic, my battle tactics. It's in early stages of development because, look, well, I mean, I'm pretty much a noob at the game, let alone the Tyranids army as a whole. But the idea is pretty much fill the battlefield with holes, and shit out as many Hormagaunts from said holes as possible. Hormagaunts, you may ask, why? Because who doesn't want to throw out 60 attacks at anything that moves for the cheap price of 130 points? Yeah, 3 strength leaves a lot to be desired, but I don't care. High numbers are cool, so the more Hormagaunts I can shove into a carry case and onto the tabletop, the better. I just love the idea of an unending swarm of bodies pulling up the field and causing mayhem. Which leads to the next question, why not use unending swarm detachment? Because I don't wanna. I'm also happy to announce that the Cottonmouth fleet have claimed victory against one foe already. Kevin, someone I played against previously, brought along his tower to a 1,000-point game against the Cottonmouth, hoping to score. And admittedly, at first, he really did. Real talk, the game was a lot of fun, and loads of goofy things happened throughout. It took 3 battle rounds for my Von Ryan's Leapers squad to kill his 5 block of stealth suits in melee, and my Trigon was hit by exploding mechs not once, not twice, but 3 times. Anyways, that's pretty much the end of the video. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if you've ever come up with a custom army and if you've ever actually gone through with it and how it's doing now. I'd really like to give them a read, you know.